Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:06 here on this Wednesday morning, and a busy one at that. Keep it here for all the coverage of the latest scandals in D.C., the indictment of Donald Trump, and the growing case for impeachment against Joe Biden, which you won't hear much elsewhere, and I think that's the whole idea of last night's announcement. Coming up at 7:35, former Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell, who knows a thing or two about how Jack Smith operates as a prosecutor. And then at 8:35, comedian Leanne Morgan. We could use a laugh, and she'll provide it, coming up at 8:30. Julie Gunlock is here. Jules.
Good morning.
Good morning. And joining us now is Byron York, who covers politics in this town like no one else, and that means really, really well. He's the chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner. And Byron, I mean, it's hard to overlook the timing here. Greg Price put out a great timeline yesterday on social media when the indictment came down. Literally, the last three announcements from Jack Smith's office have come the exact day after horrible news for Joe Biden or Hunter Biden. Is that just a coincidence?
Well, we don't know for sure, but all you have to do is point this out and say this actually happened.
Yeah.
Is it just three accidents? I don't know, but really the news from Devin Archer's testimony on Monday, and by the way, we're still hoping to get the actual transcript of everything that was said. I think we'll get it this week. Mm-hmm. The news was really stunning, and it completely demolished Joe Biden's story for the last several years. It didn't prove everything, but it demolished the things that Biden had said. Right. So it was really, really important.
And it definitely helped piece together the case that I think James Comer, Jason Smith, and Jim Jordan are meticulously putting together here. There is no one blockbuster day on Capitol Hill, but it's definitely the case is mounting. So, I mean, given that, because I do want to talk about the Trump indictments, but just to tie it up on Biden, do you believe that those three gentlemen, along with Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy, are really moving toward an impeachment process soon?
Well, I still believe it's too early to do that, and really the best sort of impeachment process would be for the in this case Republicans to say how reluctant they are to do this. They don't want to do this, but the evidence is so overwhelming that they're actually being sort of dragged toward impeachment. You don't want to appear overeager, as many Republicans actually have, and as Democrats did with two essentially snap impeachments of President Trump in 2019 and 2021.
Byron, to Jack Smith's indictment yesterday in the 4 counts against Donald Trump related to the events after the 2020 election. Jonathan Turley and Andrew McCarthy, pretty circumspect legal analysts, I believe. In fact, both of them thought that the case on classified documents was pretty solid. They were both stunned by this yesterday. Their commentary on Fox News really opened up a lot of eyes, I would think.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, if you look at all conservative media, and this includes a lot of people who would really like to see Donald Trump go, they've all been deeply, deeply skeptical about this. The Wall Street Journal editorial page, very skeptical about it. National Review, and that includes Andy McCarthy, very skeptical about it. A lot of conservative journalists, because this is the most overtly political of the indictments. And this is basically the January 6th committee's report turned into a federal indictment. And you have to remember that we've had 3 indictments of Trump so far. 2 of them are stem from elections. This one and the Manhattan indictment stems from the 2016 election. So they're essentially political in nature. And in the Manhattan indictment, the New York district attorney sort of twisted himself into a pretzel to try to make a misdemeanor business offense into a felony. We still don't know exactly how he's done it. He's never revealed that.
Right.
And with this, you do have a lot of actions by Trump that appear to be, constitutionally protected speech turned into criminal acts based on this idea that Trump knew and believed that he had lost the election and yet corruptly acted to stay in power. And I think it doesn't fit with a lot of people's understandings of Trump. I mean, in Jack Smith's world, an advisor comes up to Trump and says, well, Mr. President, you've lost Arizona. There are not enough votes. There wasn't the number of dead people voting that you thought, so it's just not happening. And then Trump says, oh, okay, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
He doesn't work that way.
No.
And so if Trump actually believes some of this stuff, the whole indictment falls apart.
Yeah. Byron, you tweeted about this last night, talking about by the first debate, GOP debate, Trump will face 4 indictments. Will he be able to talk about this in the debates and just in general during his campaigning? What limits will be put on him?
Well, I'm not the lawyer here, but most of these restrictions on speaking about a case are on the prosecution and not on the defendant, who is free to come out and talk about it if he wants. And of course, the prosecutors are free to use anything he says against him if they choose.
Oh,
So will there be some sort of gag order? Gosh, that's seems incredibly difficult to do. Trump has spoken about these things nonstop since November 3rd, 2020. And so I think it would be impossible to enforce. And also, it just doesn't make any sense. I think Trump has a First Amendment right to talk about this case against him.
Byron, how does this play out in terms of the Republican nomination? I know conventional wisdom is that this is Trump's, and every time he gets indicted, it actually helps him. But will it reach that breaking point, the idea of there's just too much? I mean, I think that's what the intention is here, to pile it on and make him just, unelectable, if that is such a thing at this point.
I don't think it reaches it with this. Maybe it would have with the classified documents case, but it didn't. But if you look over the span of the 2024 race, going back a year, look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls. Last summer, Trump led Ron DeSantis by about 30 points. Then in November of last year, DeSantis wins a great victory for re-election, 20 points. In Florida, really appears to be the big challenger. Trump's lead actually goes down to 15 points, cut in half. And then immediately after the Manhattan indictment, the lead goes back up to 30.
Yeah.
Now in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, it's 35 points. In the most recent New York Times poll, it's 37 points.
Yeah.
These indictments have not hurt him with Republican voters. Maybe they've made him unelectable in a general election, but even that doesn't appear to be the case, because he seems to be basically running even with Joe Biden, as Harry Enton at CNN pointed out, better than he ran in 2020 in the polls at this time.
Yeah.
So if this is meant to knock him out, it doesn't appear to be working with Republican voters.
We will leave it there. Byron York, always a great conversation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, folks.